Welcome to Hastings College Van Talk, or the finale of Bronco Beat. I'm Will Reynolds, and today I'm joined by these three losers. We're going to be talking about the national tournament. They are by no means experts, they're just classmates. It's time for Bronco Beat. Welcome to the final Bronco Beat. It's time for our recap, catch you up on what you missed last weekend. The women's soccer team won the GPAC Tournament Championship, avenging their loss to Concordia earlier in the season. Emma Toohey once again came up big as she did in the semifinals. The Broncos advanced to nationals, winning the shootout 3-2. The women's basketball team got their season underway last weekend in the Dome Classic, beating Ottawa University Friday night. And then on Saturday, the Broncos set a school record for least points allowed, holding William Penn to only 22 points. Then on Wednesday night, they beat College of St. Mary, beginning their conference season with a win and moving to 3-0 overall this year. Men's basketball stayed hot heading into conference play after beating Sterling College on Saturday behind an 18-point performance from sophomore Zach Kitten. Final score in that game, 86-70. The Bronco football team fell in its final game to Northwestern on Saturday, 31-12. Hastings did not score in the second half, but got two first-half touchdowns, one from senior Anthony Cloyd in his final game as a Bronco, and the other from Jordan Johnson. Last but certainly not least, the volleyball team won their second consecutive GPAC championship after beating Dort in a 4-set thriller in Lynn Farrell Arena. Hastings took the first two sets, lost the third, and eventually recovered from a 19-9 deficit to take the fourth set 29-27, capturing the title. After 3 GPAC championships in as many days, it was certainly time for a celebration.
This, but do it 3 times. Go Broncos, go! Here we go!
And now we have a special awards segment to highlight the incredible achievements our fall sports teams had this season. Beginning with the Bronco volleyball team. Katie Plackey took home Player of the Year, Jill Bax took home her second consecutive Libero of the Year award, and Coach Matt Buttermore won Coach of the Year in the GPAC Conference. All-Conference first team, Jill Bax, Katie Plackey, and Casey Krolikowski. Second team, Claire Hamburger and Andrea Levine. In honorable mention, Sage Meyer and Lucy Skoke. Now for the Bronco football team, first team all-conference, Taj Willingham and Austin Bredding. Second team, Blaine Morrow, Tyler Parthamer, and Anthony Murray. And honorable mention, Noah Hausch, Rashad Schamberger, Pharaoh Malioe, Nathan Howe, Anthony Cloyd, Jordan Johnson, Anthony Martinez, Frank Vieira, and Norman McKissick. Now for the men's soccer team, Joe White took home Defensive Player of the Year, Daniel Whitehall won his second consecutive Offensive Player of the Year award, and Coach Aaron Champenoy won his second consecutive Coach of the Year award for the GPAC Conference. First team all-conference for soccer, Daniel Whitehall, Mark Tots, Daniel Simonis, Eric Teo, Nick Hines, Damian Austin, and Joe White. Second team, Bryant Toro. And for women's soccer, first team, Heidi Barch, Janine Leahy, and Lori Potvin. Second team, Courtney Doshot, Gabrielle Didio, and Sarah Toney. And honorable mention, Lexi Harris and Kylie Stevens. That's it for the award segment. Plenty of Broncos with medals around their neck. We'll be right back with a preview of the national tournament brackets. Welcome back to Bronco Beat. We're previewing the men's soccer national tournament, and the seedings just came out on Monday, and I'm here with Andy Chase, our men's soccer expert. So Andy, we're looking at the top 5 teams primarily, along with Hastings College, of course, but let's kind of go team by team, I guess. We'll start with number 1 seed, Oklahoma Wesleyan. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, Oklahoma Wesleyan, they've looked like a very strong team this whole season. They have wins, a big win that they had this year was against the defending national champion, Hastings College, who we'll talk about later on. But yeah, they've looked strong. I believe they only one loss, 1 tie. It's a pretty good season for them. I mean, they're first in goals per game, first in total goals. So it's definitely looking really good for them. It's just their defense is also very good. So they should be a very strong team going into the tournament.
12 shutouts on the year for them, and then moving down the list, we have William Carey out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. They have 10 shutouts on their resume, and they're number 13 in goals per game. So quite a bit of a gap between them and Oklahoma Wesleyan, but still a prominent contender for the national title. Missouri Valley at number 3. They have 9 shutouts, number 33 in goals. So again, that gap grows. Rio Grande, that's a team that I want to point out. They played against Hastings College in the finals last season. So talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, Rio Grande, they're a perennial powerhouse, and for the past couple of years, they've been a powerhouse for soccer. And I mean, a 4 seed is no surprise with them. They had they're number 1 in shots per game, 6 in goals per game, and they've overall looked just as strong as Oklahoma Wesleyan. You look at the top 6 seeds, you got a lot of powerful teams going in. I mean, William Carey, how you were talking about them earlier, they had 1 loss this season. Going into their conference tournament, they were the number 1 seed, and their first loss was to the number 6 seed, University of Mobile. Both teams are very strong, so that should be interesting to see how all this plays out.
Number 5, topping out the top 5 would be Baker, and we've seen them play Hastings College this season, beating the Broncos 2-0 early on in the year. Then we'll hop down to Hastings College, I guess. So down at a 15 seed before the national seedings were released, they were ranked number 7th in the country, and now dropping down to 15 for the national tournament. So give me your thoughts on the Broncos and where they stand.
I feel like if they can get over they have their top scorer suspended for 2 more games. If they can get over that hump of beating Corbin without Danny Whitehall, or and then advancing and beating William Carey without Danny Whitehall, I feel like they have a very good chance of going back-to-back.
Danny Whitehall, again, the GPAC Player of the Year for the 2nd consecutive season. So overall, Andy, who's your national champion?
I want to say I really see Oklahoma Wesleyan. I'm usually not one to pick a number 1 overall seed, but I feel like the 2 teams I could see having a very legitimate chance is Oklahoma Wesleyan and William Carey. They both have a very strong core, and they have the power to get over any obstacles.
All right, well, the first round of the NAIA Men's Soccer National Tournament will begin this Saturday. Andy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Coming right up, we'll have Jerod Fox, our resident volleyball expert, joining us to look over that bracket. Stay with us. Welcome back to Bronco Beat. We are now into our volleyball segment covering the national seedings that came out on Monday. So here with Jerod Fox, volleyball expert.
Yes, expert on all thing volleyball, knee pads, and tall women.
All right, and we're going to get right into things. So we have 44 teams in the field. There's going to be 20 teams that got an opening bye in the first round, but we're going to primarily focus on the top 5 teams. So we'll kind of go down the list here, starting with Lindsey Wilson, who's 28-0. They were their Mid-South Conference tournament champ. They are the Blue Raiders out of Columbia, Kentucky. So number 2 in hitting percentage, Jerod, and number 3 in kills per game.
Yeah, a team that's very efficient, and of course any team with a 28-0 record is going to be good in multiple facets of the game. Lindsey Wilson just happens to have an all-around game. Grace Blomstedt is number 1 in the nation in hitting percentage, hitting at an astounding .528 percentage. You could go to a lot of volleyball games and you will not find many people who are hitting .528. So Grace Blomstedt, really someone to watch in the tournament, someone who will very likely come out with honors when all is said and done in Sioux City.
And with that undefeated record, the bottom 4 in that top 5 all have at least one loss. Viterbo 35-1. Hastings 24-2, Dordt 29-5, and then Northwestern 28-4. So, let's hop over to Viterbo, and they've had quite the season. They were ranked number 1 a little bit earlier in the year. They're number 2 in kills per game, number 6 in hitting percentage. So talk about them a little bit.
Well, Viterbo, yeah, like you said, another good team. Only 1 loss on the season. It was a 5-setter to Rocky Mountain, one that I know that team was probably disappointed in. They thought they were going to be able to go through the North Star pretty much unscathed, and likely should have gone through their conference unscathed, but did end up dropping that 1 match. Viterbo, obviously a threat all around as well. The setter, Amelia Gran, is someone to watch. She really finds her spots well, has great floor vision, will definitely make an impact in Sioux City.
So you see Viterbo lost to Rocky Mountain College, like you said. Then Hastings College at the number 3 spot. They beat Rocky Mountain earlier in the year in 5 sets. But the loss that probably hurt the Broncos in the long run was to Doane. And that was their last regular season GPAC game of the year. But then obviously ultimately winning the tournament over Dordt, which you had the pleasure of calling. So the Broncos, obviously defending national champions, number 1 in blocks, number 15 in hitting percentage, but just an outstanding team again, 2 years straight.
Yeah, and I know that the girls at Hastings are excited for a chance to defend this title and really think that they have a chance to go to Sioux City and come out national champions again. And I'll be the first to say that they definitely do. Any of these top 5 teams really have a strong chance to come out as national title contenders. But specifically with Hastings, I mean, they just have so many weapons. Katie Plackey can do it all. Claire Hamburger and Jill Bax are great setter, and of course libero of the year, reigning libero of the year. Jill Bax has a great opportunity to win libero of the year again, and that's not even mentioning the attack that comes from Casey Krolikowski, that comes from Lucy Skoke, that just comes from Sage Meyer. Yeah, especially, I mean, there's just so many weapons for this Hastings team. They will go to Sioux City with high hopes, and definitely have a very good chance of making noise again.
So all in all, rounding out the top 5, we have Dordt and then Northwestern. 5 teams total from the GPAC, so probably one of the, I think, the most teams from any conference in the national tournament. So Dordt and Northwestern, 2 really good teams as well. Emma Altina for Dordt, which I call Altima all the time, like the car, like you did.
Yeah.
She's outstanding. She hits harder than any, as hard or if not harder than anyone I've seen. And then Northwestern, Anna Keel, also a basketball player for the Red Raiders. But tournament starts on Saturday as well. Hastings College not playing, but Sioux City starts in just a few weeks. But we'll be right back with more Bronco Beat covering the men's soccer national tournament. Stay with us. Welcome back to Bronco Beat. Now that we've talked about the men's soccer bracket as well as the volleyball bracket, it's time to look at women's soccer, and for that we have Cameron Bradley.
It's great to be here, Will.
Glad to have you. So we're just going to get right into things, looking at the top 5 seeds in the tournament so far. Martin Methodist at number 1, they're 20-1. Number 2, Spring Arbor out of Michigan, they're 19-1-1. Number 3, University of Northwestern Ohio, they're 17-2-1. And then 4, William Carey out of Mississippi, 16-2, and Vanguard rounding out the top 5 at 15-3. So let's take a look at Martin Methodist. What do you have on them, Cam?
Yeah, Martin Methodist, well, they have one of the top players in the nation this year. They have Meline Cabral Vieira. She's only a junior, and she's from Porto Alegre, Brazil. And she is most likely going to be one of the players of the year this year. She has 52 goals this season, which amounts to just about almost 3 goals per game. So that's just absolutely incredible for one player, and they also are led by an awesome defense as well. They've had, I believe, 12 total shutouts this season. So really they have one of the best offenses in the nation with one of the best defenses in the nation. Mix that together, you're going to have a really good team to possibly win it all this year.
Yeah, then moving down the list, Spring Arbor, they're number 5 in goals, total goals at 84, 6 in total assists, so a team that can really pass the ball. Then we'll move down to University of Northwestern Ohio. Heard a lot about them this season, 13 total shutouts. Talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, Northwestern Ohio, they actually won the national championship last year, so they're looking to come into this tournament this year with a chance at another title back-to-back, something that's, not always the easiest thing to do, but they've had a pretty good season so far, coming into the tournament with a record of 17-2-1, and when you talk about this Northwestern Ohio team and Hastings, they could actually play each other in the second round if both teams were to advance. Northwestern Ohio, like you said, 13 total shutouts, ranked 9th in total assists and 19th in total goals with 62 this season. So a team also to watch out for in the tournament.
Then William Carey, who actually lost to Martin Methodist. They're in the same conference. They lost in that conference title game, but another good school. Men's and women's soccer, both very powerful programs. Vanguard, 11 shutouts, 18 shots per game, 49th in total goals. So a little bit of a gap between the 5 seed and then the 2 and 1 seeds. But, you have a couple of teams, I understand, that, you have with the best chance to win it all. Who are those teams?
Yeah, teams I think have the best chance, like I talked about before, Martin Methodist. They're one of my favorites to win this tournament, I think, as well as everyone else's favorites to win this tournament. Only 1 loss on the season. They have a whole lot of talent on this team, like I said, on defense and on offense. Definitely have a really good chance at winning it all. And then also you have William Carey. They're one of my teams that I think has second best opportunity to win the championship this year. They would actually play Martin Methodist in the semifinals, possibly if it all works out that way. William Carey actually was the only team to beat Martin Methodist this year, beat them 1-0 in their first matchup against each other, and they also played each other in the tournament championship game. Martin Methodist won that one 4-2. So I think if it comes down to William Carey and Martin Methodist, both of those teams, whoever wins that game, I think is going to the championship, obviously. And then also on the other side of the bracket, Northwestern Ohio, last year's champions, coming in with momentum with that as well. I think that they have a good opportunity at repeating as well.
All right, and the dark horses for the tournament, what about them?
All right, so dark horses, I have Siena Heights as my first dark horse. They're coming in with a lot of momentum. They actually beat Northwestern Ohio in the conference title game. So that's going to have a lot of momentum with them coming into this tournament. I believe, if I am correct, they're coming in with a 12-6-2 record. So not the best record in the tournament, but I think with the momentum that they have beating Northwestern Ohio, they can get some wins. They play Columbia in the first round, which I think might be a little bit of an overrated team, and then possibly can play against Westmont in the third round of the quarterfinals in the second round if they are to knock off Columbia. So I think they have a good opportunity at being a kind of Cinderella this year, and then also Lindsey Wilson. I've paid attention to them as well. They have a lot of experience with close games against really good teams this year, so don't really be surprised if they pull an upset or two. They play Oklahoma Wesleyan and then have a possible chance at Vanguard. I think that they have a chance at pulling some upsets there. Well, for the Broncos, like you said, they're going into this matchup against Ottawa. They're riding it in with a lot of momentum. They've had 2 PK wins in their last 2 games to clinch the conference championship game.
Matui was huge.
Yeah, Matui in both of those games.
Finals,
yeah, beating Midland and then Concordia, double overtime PKs, and Matui, like you said. So I think they're coming in with a lot of momentum. Ottawa is coming off of a loss to Kansas Wesleyan in the KCAC semifinals. So Ottawa coming in here off of a loss. So that maybe should help the Broncos a little bit. And they actually both met last year. You said opening round, Ottawa won that game 2-1 in overtime. Game that was really close throughout the entirety of it, and ended up with a goal in just about the first minute for Ottawa in overtime. Ottawa advancing. So I think actually Hastings has a really good opportunity to beat this Ottawa squad. They're both very similar. Both have really good players on offense and on defense. I think it's going to be a game just like last year. Might be going into overtime, and you got to think if it goes into overtime, maybe even double overtime, maybe even a PK shootout again. You got Matui in goal. Yep. You know, I think they might have an opportunity to move on and then play against Northwestern Ohio if that all works out like that way. And I think Hastings will most likely probably fall to Northwestern Ohio in that game, but I think Hastings will get their opening round tournament win.
Anyways, thanks, Cam, for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. It's a fun time.
All right. We'll look forward to the national tournaments in all 3 of those sports, but we'll be right back with more Bronco Beat in our preview segment. Stay with us. Welcome back to Bronco Beat for our final preview segment of the fall semester. Looking ahead, as I mentioned, we have the men's and women's soccer teams playing in their opening round national tournament games. The men will host Corbin University at Lloyd Wilson Field at 5:30 p.m., and the women will play in Kansas against Ottawa University at 3 p.m. Men's and women's basketball will play on Saturday as well at Mount Marty. Those games will be at 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. respectively. And then on the following Tuesday, Northwestern will come to town to play the Broncos in Lynn Farrell Arena. 5 o'clock for the women, 7 o'clock for the men. That's it for our preview segment. When we come back, we'll have a Bronco Athlete of the Week and our final poll update. Stay with us. Our Bronco Athlete of the Week is Katie Plackey. The senior had 20 kills while hitting .386. She also tallied 18 assists, and the Broncos tallied 13 blocks as a team. And now we will take a quick look at the Broncos' seedings in the national tournaments. The men's soccer team has gained the 15 overall seed and will face Corbin on Saturday. The volleyball team has the number 3 overall seed and has an opening round bye. And the women's soccer team garnered an at-large bid and faces Ottawa University for the 2nd consecutive season. Well, that'll conclude our final episode and our first season of Bronco Beat, but I want to thank all of you at home for watching. I want to thank all of my special guests that have joined me this season. Be sure to stay tuned to the Ryno Sports Talk social media for some exciting news regarding a 2nd season in the spring. Until then, I'm Will Reynolds. We'll see you in the spring, same time, same place.